Hey, Brad here with the Grit Branded. I have Miss Carley today with me, a good friend. We work together at the NCHA. Actually, you take my money. You're a marketing director? Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yep,
Okay.
Director of Marketing and Sponsorships.
Challenging,
It sure is, but it's the best job ever.
really. You got a great team. Just got to interview Jay, your boss. How do you feel about him?
Honestly, as much as I wish that I could talk crap on him, he is honestly the best boss I've ever had. By far the most meaningful leader that I've ever had and had the pleasure to work with. And he's taught me and everyone around me so much and just genuinely cultivates an amazing culture at NCHA and makes it a place that's really fun to work. Because, I mean, we work a lot of days, a lot of long hours, a lot of travel, but working with him and getting to do what we do makes it all worth it.
Right. And you didn't even have to say that for me to know that, because I can see you can't put a team together and make the strides y'all have without having a great leader. You know what I mean? And seeing, I know y'all are all stressed out during these shows because it's a long haul, a lot of long days, long nights. But in the end, y'all are all pulling the rope the same way, and that takes leadership to do that. But, I also see everybody's happy. I don't see anybody really griping about their job or, and everybody's overly willing to help you in any way you need. And you've been a great for us as a company, bringing us in and taking care of things that we need and helping us along the way. A lot of marketing people don't do that. They want your money. Give me what you have where I can load it and do this, but I'm not doing anything extra. And you're not that type of person.
Well, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of that comes from me being on your side of the table. First entering the industry in a corporate capacity was working with a whiskey brand, and we were sponsoring these associations and these events. And so I saw, the places that gave me the amazing customer service, and it just made me want to be more involved, to spend my time with them, to spend more money, spend more resources with them, and seeing that the impact that it made on both sides of the partnership. And that's really what it is supposed to be. It's not supposed to just be a sponsorship where you cut a check, you get your sign, and that's the only time you hear from me is when we're renewing. I really do want everything that we do with NCHA, whether it be a $500 sponsorship or a $500,000 sponsorship, for all of it to truly be a partnership.
Sure. And I feel that way. And I know a lot of the sponsors, you probably have your struggles of everybody does when they're dealing with people's money and wanting exactly what they want at that time and all that kind of stuff. We all deal with that, even in my business. But, it's been a great relationship with us, and we've become friends along the way, and that's been beneficial too, personally for me. So let's talk about where Carley came from, your history, your roadmap that got you where you are today. So where are you from?
Yeah, so I grew up mostly on Long Island with my mom, and then my dad has always lived in Northeast Pennsylvania in the Pocono Mountains. So I kind of spent my time growing up between those two places.
Okay. How did you get involved in horses?
Yeah, so really it was just one Father's Day. My dad asked me what I wanted to do, and I was obsessed with horses and ponies. I was like 4 or 5, and I was like, Dad, we should just go ride ponies together. So, okay, well, I'm sure we could find a place that does trail rides around here or something. And we went, and I just fell completely in love. That was the first time that I remember being on a horse. Of course, going to the county fair and things like that. They have the little pony rides in a circle. Did that, always loved it. But that was the first time I really got to ride a horse. And my dad said that he knew that I was hooked from the minute that he saw me get on. And really from there kind of just grew and went a bunch of different routes in the industry, but that was kind of always my passion. And then my dad was always so supportive of that, and then my mom as well.
Sure. So did you rodeo at all or show or?
So I grew up, I showed AQHA and a lot of the English stuff when I was first starting out, and then really I transitioned into riding reiners, and which was hard on the East Coast. So from my mom's house, my trainer was 4.5 hours away, and from my dad's house, it'd be 2.5 hours. And so I rode with Matt Palmer up in Pennsylvania. He's still there. We're still family, really, with him and with his mom, Joan, and his dad, Guy. I was more of a working student that turned into family. We didn't have the money to get the high-powered horses or anything like that. And so I knew that if I was going to be successful, it was going to have to be the work and the hours that I put in. And I was very blessed that they really just took me under their wing and showed me, kind of where the gaps were in my training and some of the finishing and things like that. But really were just incredible, not only mentors in the arena, but outside of the arena for life. I would look at Joan and Guy and their marriage, and that's always what I wanted. I would look at Matt and his success in the business and his passion and how he could get anyone, like his customers, to believe in him and make things happen that shouldn't happen. Matt should not be as successful as he is today with the horses that he's been given, especially in the past. Now he has a lot of some pretty cool horses, but when I was growing up, Matt didn't have that string of high-powered horses, and he still has been extremely successful and made a name for himself. And so those people, just impacted my life so much. They helped me get recruited. When I went to Joan, part of the reason I went there was because I had the goal. I wanted to go D1 and be on an equestrian team. And kind of my backup plan for that was I was going to go to fashion marketing school. I was actually the #1 fashion marketing student on all of Long Island. And so I kind of thought, I just kind of gave it to God, and I was like, it's going to go one way or the other. Either I'm going to get recruited, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to study business and marketing, or if that's not meant to be, then I'm going to go the other way and I'm going to study fashion marketing and stay in New York and do all of that. And so kind of the way life took me, I got recruited to go to TCU, went there for 4 years and just never left Fort Worth.
It's hard to leave Fort Worth. It kind of soaks you in.
It does.
That's very interesting about your story. I didn't know all that. That's pretty cool. So we went to TCU, and you still to this day. I know we go to private settings after dinner or whatever, and some of your TCU people you go to school or went to school with are with you. So I was like, it's still a lot. And you go to games still?
Absolutely. Yeah. My dad and and my husband, we have season football tickets. We have a tailgate every single home game. We are there. My dad flies in still from Pennsylvania for all the home games. And really, the thing about TCU that I loved is the network and the community that school fosters. And truly, I got my first job because of my professors at TCU, because of them making a connection. I've continued to grow in this industry and every industry that I've been involved in because of a connection of one sort or another that leads back to TCU or the horse industry.
Sure.
So it's definitely, a welcoming community of great people. And it helps that I stayed in Fort Worth, so I get to still be involved and go back and talk to different classes and tell them, about our industry and the marketing that we're doing and get more people involved, and then still getting to be involved with the equestrian team and the coaches and some types of different mentorship opportunities that we have there. So it was just another reason for me to stay in Fort Worth, which is always my secret plan all along.
Oh, yeah. It's hard not to want to be here. Well, so went to college, and then how did you and Brandon meet your husband?
Yeah, so my husband and I met the weekend after graduation, just through some mutual friends. But I was working for a whiskey company at the time, and I was having some trouble with the bouncer at the establishment that we were trying to get into. And I had just got my first business card the day before. And I was very thankful that it had the brand of the company on it. And I told him, listen, I work for them. If you want to go ahead and call the owners and ask them if I'm 21 or not, you can. I'm 22. I wasn't much older than 21, but I was over 21. And that was really the first time that I realized, the power of a business card. Yeah, it's for a connection, but the things that it can do for your life, because that little moment, my life would be completely different if I didn't get into that place, if I didn't meet my now husband.
Right. Which is a great guy, by the way.
He
compliments you well. So he has gotten a little more, I shouldn't say not aggressive, but more, I don't know. He puts up with your sass a lot. Mm-hmm. And he every once in a while he's getting a little better about a little bit of pushback every once in a while. I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
Now it's a little aggravating. It's like, got to re-break him. Mm-hmm. But then you got two baby boys?
My dogs.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's your babies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, they are.
What's their names?
Gus and Moose. Full lab is Gus, and then we have a half lab, half pointer. And then we usually have a rotating third spot in our house of different foster dogs, just kind of depending on who we have at the moment.
Right. Well, and then Brandon is a firefighter, correct?
Yep. So he's a firefighter in Grapevine.
Grapevine, okay.
And then he also owns Ranch House Creations, the woodworking business, kind of his side hustle.
Which does phenomenal work. does some stuff for me. It blows my mind. And I just sit there and talk to him. Like, we're talking about a cutting board, he ended up building for me, and I'll just blabbed out there what I was talking about. And all of a sudden he shows up with him like it's beautiful. Like, and then we just had a couple conversations. It wasn't even by detail, but he still what he does with it. Once you give him what you want, he can do just about anything you want.
He is pretty talented. Hopefully he's not listening and his head doesn't get too big, but he is pretty talented with the things that he does. We'll
deflate that head if he does. All right, so found the love of your life, married your husband, got your baby dogs, and then you go to work TX Whiskey?
So I started with TX before I graduated college, actually.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. And so that's what got me into the bar, was having that TX Whiskey business card. Yeah. So that was, for me, honestly, the hardest job interview hiring process of my life. I sent in my resume 4 times, and no one was responding to me. And I was adamant that this was the job for me. I read the job description. I had my professors read it. I had them read my resume. I was convinced that I was the perfect person for the job, and no one could be more perfect than me. I don't know where that confidence came from, because I was definitely not a confident person at the time, but that is what I had in my head, and I was going to make it happen. And all I wanted was to get that interview, and I knew that if they interviewed me, that they would see the same thing that I saw in myself. And so I did some LinkedIn stalking, like any good marketer does, and I found out that one of the mutual connections of one of the founders was my professor that I had been doing freelance social media for while I was a senior in college. And so I reached out to him. Hey, his name's Robert Muggleston. I was like, hey, Muggleston, I need you to make this connection for me. Like, please, pretty please, sugar on top, whatever I need to do. I want to get in contact with these people, at least a phone interview. He said, okay, no worries. He's like, I believe in you. You're doing a great job for me, so I'll make a few calls. This is at 8 o'clock at night. 9 o'clock, I have an email from the founder saying that I will have an interview, and he's copied the CMO, and the CMO said, okay, yep, we'll have her in for an interview. That was all great, well and fine. So, I'm going to business school. I'm prepping my interview questions. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? All of those things. Well, my first interview question with the CMO, who hadn't really thought this through, I went over his head to get the interview. He had seen my resume and didn't think that I was a fit. And so he was ignoring me because he didn't think that I was a fit for the role. And then it came out that his boss was going to make him take this interview. So obviously he's not thrilled. And so I sit down for my first interview question, and he said, I just want to let you know, I think you're extremely unqualified for this role. And I'm only taking this interview as a courtesy to Leonard because he told me I have to.
Wow.
And that was my first interview question. Don't even really think it's a question. And so I, composed myself. That's not one of the questions that they prep you for in business school. And I told him, sir, obviously you have your opinion, and I understand that based off of my graduation date that you see on this paper, that you may think that I don't have the years of experience that you're asking for or the qualifications. However, I'd love to walk you through what I've done and what my qualifications are, and I'd love to try to convince you that I am the person for this job because I believe that I am.
And you had to turn that corner right away.
Right away. Yeah, there was no time to think about it. It was quick reset mentally and go ahead and do that. And he, jokingly now, he's been one of my mentors. And so every time we would hire interns after that, I was like, listen, Rishi, I'm going to go ahead and do the interviews because you're not really a good interview person. You're horrifying. And he told me, later on, he was like, Carley, at the time, it's like, you were a 21-year-old female wanting to work in an extremely male-dominated industry. You're going to be working with a lot of people who would look at you and think you're unqualified for your role. And he was like, so if you couldn't even handle a professional question from me about that or comment from me, how are you going to survive in this? Mm-hmm. And which was fair. And I did. I received a lot of situations. Everywhere I walked into, people automatically assumed that I wasn't qualified, or that, I was someone's administrative assistant, that I wasn't, the manager or the assistant manager of marketing, or that I wasn't overseeing the sponsorships and partnerships. And so that was something that honestly he did prepare me for with that. And I ended up, having a great working relationship with him, being able to grow the team at TX. Was on the team that helped open the new distillery. Well, it's not new anymore now. It's very well established, but that was one of my biggest projects when I first started there. And then was able to launch their introduction truly into the Western industry. So they had always partnered with the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo, and so I was able to help them amplify that. And then they came to me and were like, okay, we're looking at not influencers, but different partners, people that we could align our brand with. And they said, okay, we only are going to give product. We can't give any money. And we want to sponsor bull riders. Okay, well, any good bull rider that's over 21 is going to cost a lot of money that we don't have. And they're like, okay, well, we want you to reach out. So I'm reaching out to everyone on the rodeo circuit. Hey, that obviously, first of all, they have to be over 21, which narrows down the pool to elite of the elite. And then trying to work with them. And, I was just getting no. And I was like, I can't go to them and tell them I failed after I just tried to convince them that I needed this job. I can't immediately say the first project they gave me, I can't make it happen. And so I started kind of thinking, okay, who else could we partner with that, would maybe be more open to trade partnerships or, maybe a little bit of cash, or what could that look like? And, I thought, well, that's what horse trainers do. A lot of times they'll trade for product or, get creative with the sponsorships and marketing. And it's a little bit different. And I was like, they have a need for the product because they're always hosting people. You're at your stalls, you're hosting people. Someone's coming to buy a horse, you offer them a drink while you're negotiating. Like, it's just part of the lifestyle, natural part of it, and just of the, the atmosphere and the community. And so I started reaching out to individual horse trainers, brokered a few deals with them, and was able to kind of grow the sponsorships and partnerships from there with them in the Western industry. And that's how I met Jay. That's how I met a lot of the trainers that introduced me to the cuttings. I did not grow up in the cutting. And then that's also how I met Taylor Sheridan, who was the one that got me in my role at NCHA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's interesting. How'd you meet Taylor?
So I met him at the Run for a Million the very first year. I was there socially, and I had made a little bet with all of our horse trainers. Listen, this guy is a big deal. And if any of you can get him to try the product, the first one to do it, I was like, I will get you any limited release that you want. I will, whatever you want, I will get it to you. And so that's what he did. One of our horse trainers got him to try it. He really liked the product. And they had been, thankfully, I had a good relationship with that horse trainer. And so he was telling him about me, you really ought to meet this girl. She's doing some stuff in the industry. And so that was Craig Smersel and Ginger Smersel. And I love them and adore them to this day. And they really made that introduction to Taylor through the brand. And then I just saw him walking up to the bar in between two of the Run for a Million performances, ran up to him, was like, hey, I know you're super busy. Craig told me you tried the product. I work for TX Whiskey. Here's my card. I'd love to buy you a drink. And because I had got TX served at the event through a little bit of a sponsorship. And so bought him a drink, gave him my card. He was like, oh my gosh, you're the whiskey girl. I've been looking for you all week. Like, where have you been? And I was like, well, you've been running everywhere and I've been running everywhere. Like, we've just been having crossed paths. And so got his contact information and was able to kind of like cultivate a relationship with TX Whiskey. We worked with him with some of his like the private events that he would have for some of the celebrities, getting them to have the product. He loved the product. Did a lot of different just opportunities with him out at the Bosque Ranch and a few of his other kind of events as well. But really from that, just got to know him and his wife, Nicole, personally. And I mean, they're amazing people. And for me, anyone that says anything negative about either one of them, it's because they don't know them.
They don't know.
They don't know them at all.
You hear all of that. And he's always been, both of them have been nothing but nice to me and anybody I've ever that know him.
Yes.
But, you're in that position. Hell, I'm just a construction guy. People talk shit about me, but it is what it is. But anyways, so Taylor gets you hooked up with the NCHA.
Yep. So when I was at TX and they were going through a little bit of a restructure, and I realized, as we're taking stock, COVID hits, everyone kind of hits a little bit of a reset on their life, take stock in, what's important, what's not, and I realized that I really wanted to be in the Western industry full time. And so started reaching out to people, doing what I could to just, maybe get some interviews. And honestly, it was a beat down at first. It was very much, especially then, an industry where you have to know someone who knows someone to even get your foot in the door. And I had a little bit of those connections, but not a lot. There weren't platforms like there are now. Like Of the West is an incredible platform now where people can go on and, find people that are interested in the Western industry, people that have that knowledge about it, find, freelancers, graphic designers, all of these other things and all the different worlds of Western and ag. Like that platform didn't exist. I wish it did, but everything worked out for the best for me. So I'm glad to see that it's there now. But so I called Taylor. Honestly, didn't really expect a lot to come from it. He's like the busiest guy I know. But I called him and was like, hey, if you hear of anyone that's hiring, like I really want to do marketing or sponsorships, really anything that I can to get my foot fully in the door of the Western industry. And he said, okay, give me an hour. I'll make some calls. I felt honored that he just offered to make calls, whether he was going to make them or not. I was like, wow, that really means a lot to me that he would, at least consider making calls on my behalf. Another hour later, I had a meeting set up with Jay, and Jay was going to, talk to me about, I thought, other people that may be hiring in the industry. Jay had been in it for quite a few years, and so I thought he was going to tell me a direction to go, all of that. Well, turns out we sit down, Jay's telling me all about the amazing things NCHA is doing. Like, that is all well and good, sir. I am looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm really excited for you. I will definitely come to the cutting as a fan, but like, I need a place of employment in the Western industry. So are we going to get to that? And he was like, okay, so this is the role I have in mind for you. This is what you would be doing. What are your thoughts? I just stared at him. I was, to be clear, are you offering me a job right now? Yeah, of course, that's why we're here. I said, well, Taylor did not tell me that. He's like, well, I did tell Taylor not to tell you that, but I just figured he had told you. No, sir, he did not. I did not know why I was here. I thought we were just here to chat, have lunch, and maybe you would tell me about someone else that was hiring. And really kind of that was, from then on out, I was here. And I love it because everything that he was describing was exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do marketing. I wanted to do the things that I had, learned through all of my classes, through my internships, but still get to connect everything to the industry that I had always been told I couldn't make a living in.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting to do that every day is, truly a dream come true.
You do a great job at it,
Thank
by the
you.
way. And, well, so let's talk about stuff. When we first met, we didn't know each other very well, but we sat down, we started talking, and we were talking about ideas, and I'm like, I want to impact the industry somehow. I don't want to just be a check. And we started talking, and I'm big into youth stuff. And you came up with this idea of Loper of the Year. How do you feel like that's impacted the industry by doing this?
Yeah, so I think both awards that you sponsor through NCHA have impacted the industry in an incredible way. And I'll start with the Loper of the Year. And so with that, we were talking about our upbringings. It really was more of a working student, an apprentice, all of those kinds of things, not just someone that shows up at the barn, rides and leaves. And so knowing kind of what that looks like and the people that are behind the scenes making all of the success that you see in the show pen happen, and what that means for the people that may never get a buckle, they may never ride to the herd, but still being able to recognize them and the impact that they have, and them knowing that their hard work is recognized not just by the trainers or the clients and their friends, but by the industry as a whole. And I think that now you're starting to see a lot of other groups kind of catch on to that, realizing that there is that need for recognition for the people that are behind the scenes, grinding every day and making that happen for other people and having those dreams come true for other people.
Right. I was a little nervous about it at first, as a lot of the trainers, it's like in your business, you're always worried you're going to lose that superstar that helps you every day, and the trainers, well, now we're just going to give them a platform to be a trainer, make that next step. And it wasn't that way, and seeing Kenny, so happy for what was just going about made me feel good, because I was really nervous about how the trainers would, respond to this award, but it worked out, and to me has been a great journey with and watching those people and the people, all those things, all those applications I read and nominations, all this stuff. It's like just cool Because then you know a lot of names, and you're watching these people as they develop too, and they might be their year this year. That's coming up.
Yeah, and I mean, we're so excited to see all of those applications come in and see that, you always hope that those people are being recognized at home, but seeing that they truly are, that everyone that's around them realizes the impact that this person is having on them and their journey personally, professionally, them in the show pen, that the work that this person puts in is truly appreciated by the people in their barn, in their circle, but getting to recognize them on a larger scale, that everyone sees that we all agree as an industry that they are important and impactful and an essential part of our industry. I mean, this just gives a platform for us to recognize the amazing people behind the scenes.
And I think it says a lot about the trainer too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing I didn't really think about until I saw the interaction when we were giving the award away. How Kenny is so excited about the superstar that works with him every day, and I'm like, that says a lot about him too, because you don't just create those people; they create themselves, but you're a part of that. So I think that's a big thing too, to show that. Also, we do the hardship award.
Yep.
This year was pretty cool. The kiddo we picked had so much about his life that was similar to mine. It was pretty much a no-brainer, and just the work ethic and how hard he works and all that good stuff. How is that receptive in the industry?
I think, everyone kind of knows someone that could use that extra help, that extra push. Like, I was someone going through kind of the youth at AQHA that they had different, hardship awards and things like that. And I mean, for us, we would be hauling from the other side of the country. And at the time before I was with Joan and Matt, I was with another trainer, and I was the only client that would haul. So it was on my dad to pay for all of that, the trainer fees, the mileage, driving the truck and trailer, all the hotels, everything, for me to go out there and show one time. And it just, honestly, it wasn't feasible sometimes. And he busted his butt and made it what he could. But without those awards, we couldn't have made it happen. And so when you said that you wanted to give back to someone, a kid in the industry that, truly deserves it, I was so excited to be able to bring this to the cutting side, because, I think some other places are doing it and it exists in other worlds, but I hadn't seen it yet in the cutting. And so getting to recognize, a kid for their hard work and that they're doing so much despite their circumstances, I mean, and getting to bring them here, something that for them, could have been a dream, a lifelong goal, but they just can't, financially make it happen, which is understandable. I mean, especially now in this economy, it's tough.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough. So getting to give someone that opportunity to experience something that they otherwise may not have was amazing. And I don't think y'all could have picked a better recipient of the award. He was truly a joy to have at all of our youth events.
Very appreciative parent. His mother was awesome. And, I feel like everybody comes from a past. And the more you can inspire somebody that might not be in the best place and give them a situation like that, you're hopefully, and I feel like because I am that person that likes to give back to that kind of stuff, you're doing that hopefully he'll do that same thing. And if somebody just sits back and just writes checks and never does anything different, we're never going to get no better, for our industry. And getting people involved and keep them involved is the biggest thing for us. So you talked about your father. We've brought him up a lot, or you have, talking about what he's done with you and helped you hauling down the road. Anybody don't know Rick? Or what does he say? I'm Carley's dad?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Carley's dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's even on his hat. But Rick, to me, he's a lot. He's a lot of energy. But I feel like if he's your friend, he'll do anything in the world for you. And I can only imagine being his daughter. But we've had a great time. What's things you can say about Rick that people might not know?
Yeah, so I think both of my parents, first of all, completely different personalities. Completely different personalities.
I've never met your mom, so I can't.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. But I think that being raised by both of them with the completely different personalities, like my dad he's very outgoing, very charismatic. He, too, has kind of worked from the ground up, like his parents didn't have a lot of money. He's one of 9 children. He's the exact middle
wow.
child.
I didn't know
He
that.
has 2 older brothers, 2 younger brothers, 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters. So he is the exact middle.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yep. And so he always jokes around that his big personality comes from, having to stand out of such a big family. And I don't really know anyone out of that whole side of the family that is quiet. You couldn't be, or you would get run over. But he's, from my understanding, been that way his whole life, certainly has been my whole life, of a big personality, but always willing to give you the shirt off his back. And my mom, although less of a big personality, is the same way, truly always wants to give back. It's always, everyone else and then me. And so being raised by both of them, although at times there was a lot of times that money was really tough, I knew that, I couldn't have this thing or that thing, but I never wanted for anything. Like,
Sure.
I was very, very blessed that they both did absolutely everything that they could to make sure that I have the life that I have now. And I'll get emotional talking about it, but I truly do have the best parents in the world, and they still are so supportive. I talk to them every day, every other day. They come to the horse shows. My mom's allergic to horses.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's probably why I've never seen her.
Yes. So, when she would pick me up from the barn, I would have to go shower in the barn, completely change my clothes, and I would have to shower. Couldn't just change my clothes. Had to completely shower, change my clothes, and then try not to get close to anything in the barn, and then run out and get in the car. But now, when she comes to the shows, and she would come to all of my meets in college and everything, because they were outside. At home, almost all of our stuff was in indoor arenas,
Sure.
so it made her allergies even worse. But at college, when a lot of our stuff was outside and she was closer, then both her and my dad would come to all of my meets. Going to nationals, she doesn't truly understand the cutting, but she understands from a marketing perspective. She does marketing too. And so,
Oh, does she?
Yeah. And so I've always kind of looked up to her in that way, in the ways that she creatively would think about things, about sponsorships, about, okay, well, this person only has this amount of money, but what can we do with that to make it very creative? And so I always learned that kind of from her. And so she truly understands the marketing side of my job and has helped me with that and is proud of me for that. And then my dad understands more of the Western industry side of things, but my dad actually can't ride.
Really?
Yep.
Didn't know that.
If you watch him sit on a horse, it is comical. He has done it a few times out of sheer necessity. I had 2 horses, and my trainer was giving birth to one of her kids, and so it was just him and I at the horse show, and I had 2 horses that had to get ready, and he would lunge one while I was on one. I was like, I really need you to get on and trot him around so then I can go show this one and then get on that one. And so he's done it a handful of times, but as involved as he is with the industry socially, he actually cannot ride.
Oh, but dang.
Yeah.
He can ski,
He could ski,
but
cannot ride.
I never would have thought that. But he is a lot of personality. And that's cool hearing your mom in a marketing. What type of business she work in?
She's pretty much always worked in nonprofits. Nonprofits, yep, doing marketing and different kinds of development for them.
I got you. What's her name?
Diana.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody knows Crazy Rick. We just need to meet Diana now.
Yep.
Not at a horse show.
Yeah, at the house, not at the horse show.
Well, your dad's also a very good trim carpenter.
He is.
And I can see it. Just talking to him, once you meet one of the old school cats that are very good at that, they don't work with very many people either. They mostly work by themselves.
Yep.
So I've known a couple in the industry, but I would love to see his work one day. I haven't, but I'm sure he does a great job at it.
He does. I mean, he will send me pictures all the time of what he's been doing at his client's house. Every time there's an update, and then it's really fun to then get to meet those clients and then be like, oh my gosh, your dad in my bathroom, it looks amazing. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I've seen all the photos. I know what your bathroom looks like.
Right.
But yeah, it's been cool, and he's been great being able to even just help my husband with the woodworking business too. And between him and honestly you and the way that you approach things has meant a lot to Brandon, and kind of learning how to structure a business from the ground up, being able to know your worth and your value and not undervalue what you're doing.
Right. I think a lot of people in business don't take the time to understand that, and then they blow 20 years of their life, and they still could have just worked for somebody instead of wasting all those hours and long nights not making any money, because they don't get that.
Yep.
And I like saying that kind of stuff and talking to young guys, ladies, about that, because I spent 10 years of my life just working working for free pretty much. But once I figured it out, I was mad at myself and fixed it
Yeah.
because it wasn't like it. But you just don't know when you come from nothing. And you don't have somebody telling you how this works. So you got to figure it out. And that was my college. It was 10 years of after me.
Yeah.
But it's worked out well. So we talked about Rick, talked about Brandon. So Brandon and Rick, do they have worked together at y'all's shop? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How does that go?
Honestly, pretty well, because I think my dad understands that when he's in Brandon's shop that Brandon is the GC of the day, and he is just there to do what Brandon needs and what he says. And so, but they've worked together on different projects in my house as well. They took out a wall together while I was at a horse show. I did strategically plan it, so I would be working all day and night at the Super Stakes, and the two of them would be in my house taking down a wall that was a concrete wall. We did find that out. Wasn't load bearing, so that was nice, but it was fully concrete. And so they had a great time doing that. And then I decided that I wanted not only just a regular floor like divider, then I wanted everything to be herringbone. And so thankfully Rick had done that just a time or two. And so while Brandon was like, I don't know how to do that, I don't think I can do that, Rick was like, no, it's fine, we're just going to do this, and this. And then they worked it out and it looks great. But yeah, I'm very lucky that I have two or quite a few handy people in my life, because although I have painted the walls in our house and I can help, I'm allergic to sawdust. So it doesn't really work out well on a job site.
How's the wallpaper?
It's not up yet.
Okay.
We did have a little bit of a mishap with the measurements. And so now the new wallpaper just arrived this week.
Awesome.
So hopefully I will, by the time the fraternity rolls around, I will have a freshly wallpapered bathroom.
When you are telling me about that, like, oh my God, there's no way. I don't have those kind of patience.
Yeah.
At all. No way. So your journey with the NCHA things, how long have you been with NCHA?
I've been with NCHA for going on 4 years.
I got you. And y'all's platform is just, to me, is just taking off so well. I mean, I see the new sponsors on the yearly, and I see a lot of faithful sponsors too. That have been around a long time or been around since I've been around, and I think that's cool. And it means you're doing your job. You got a lot of new people this year.
Yeah, we do, and so I mean, it's been great to see new sponsors, new partners, new competitors come on from all walks of life. I mean, really kind of the team, and I cannot take credit for most of this, but the team at NCHA, has really put an emphasis on not only our Triple Crown events, which are, the peak of the performance, but also our weekend cutters, because that's the majority of our membership are the people that, have a more traditional job during the week, and they are truly just cutting on the weekends, and that's, it's mom, dad, brother, sister, they're all going together. They have one or two horses. They're competing in all the classes for the weekend. And they're just doing it because they love it. Not because it's their living or because they're making money off of it, but just because it's a hobby that they can do in the weekend that the entire family can be involved in. Otherwise it's, maybe their son's involved in baseball, and so the whole family goes to the baseball field. Well, that's really only one person competing and everyone else on the sidelines. And so with cutting, especially on the weekend level, the entire family can go and compete in the same place. And there's not really a lot of other places that you could do that. And so the team has really kind of put an emphasis on that while still continuing to increase the production and just the awareness of our big kind of Triple Crown events, but kind of the balance of let's continue to grow and recruit people at the grassroots level, because it is, I mean, like Jay mentioned when he was on here, it's a safe haven for people. It's a place to go back to your roots, to go back to those, core American values that anyone can make it.
Sure.
And then there's so many trainers that we have that are at the peak of the Triple Crown that, either they came from nothing or their parents came from nothing, and they truly built something from the ground up that now is what everyone wants to be, and everything in between. And so it's really inspiring to get to tell those stories and share those stories with the world. Like, last week, we were at Fashion Week in New York, an event with Teton Ridge for a project that they're working on. And, we got to bring cutting to a global stage. We were in Vogue. It was Harper's Bazaar, Page 6. I mean, on every social media platform, and getting impressions that are on a Super Bowl level, which is something I never would have thought that I would have seen in my life. And coming from New York and then getting to go back and showcase the Western way of life and the sport of cutting to people that are not at all familiar with the industry. I mean, it was a life-changing and a once-in-a-lifetime experience for sure.
That's very cool. I'm very proud of y'all for doing that. That's awesome. So we go to your trade shows, or we are at trade shows together. Sometimes, and y'all have your NCHA booth set up and all that, and you have a saddle with the what do you call the goggles, where it's more or less you're on a cutter. Mm-hmm. Can you explain that to people?
So we have our virtual reality cutting experience, and so that's what we brought actually out with us to New York. So it was cool. Really what it is so you'll sit on the saddle, and then it'll be like any of the other kind of VR games that you think of. You put the goggles on, and it's a fully immersive 360 experience. And so it starts off with walking you through kind of the sport of cutting, what you see in the arena, what cutting is about, and then it brings you into the arena, and you are Adon Benuelos on Allspice. I mean, the queen, one of the best horses that has ever lived. And you're at his ranch just like he would be every day. It's really cool because you can kind of look around. You get to see all of his herd help, all the cows, the ranch, everything. And then you cut 3 cows. And it's really cool to get to see people have the experience of riding a cutting horse without us actually having to have a cutting horse there and for them to experience it. Because, that's prohibitive. That's the reason a lot of people don't get into cutting, is because they've never had any level of experience with it. So for us to be able to bring that to someone virtually is amazing. And then we have it also for download on our website too. So even if someone's not at an event that we are at, if they have the virtual reality goggles, they can download it right to their own device. And access it from anywhere. Yeah. So our affiliates in Italy, they do that. So they have a bunch of sets of VR goggles, and they've all downloaded it. We have quite a few people that have done it at our event and be like, oh, I want to show my brother or my sister or whatever. Can I buy this from you? I'm like, it's actually free. Just go on our website, show them where it is on the website, download it, and then they can have that experience from anywhere in the world.
Oh, but dang. That's cool. I think that's something neat for somebody that it's hard to you can see it and watch it, but having something like that at your fingertips or your eyes and just be able to live through that, I think it just kind of speeds the process up somebody that might want to be involved, or start doing it. I know Jay talked about this, and you've brought up a couple times. What exactly, for people that don't know, because you brought up Triple Crown, what is that in the NCHA, so people can understand what that means? Because there's other Triple Crowns in other industries, so I don't want people getting mixed up with exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So our Triple Crown will start with our futurity. So it actually starts at the futurity with the 3-year-old horses, which is November, December. Right now, all of our events are held at the Will Rogers in Fort Worth. So we start from that, and then we move on into the spring. We have our Super Stakes, and then we move on into the summer, which is our Summer Cutting Spectacular. And so the thought process is, if a horse wins the Triple Crown, that as their age progresses, they would win one, and then the next, and then the next. It's been a really long time since someone has won it. I hope it happens in my lifetime. I would love to see it, but something that's, something that a lot of people don't know about our Triple Crown is that we pay out significantly more than the horse racing Triple Crown. Like up until last year, when they finally raised the payout in the Kentucky Derby, we were paying over double what the Triple Crown of horse racing pays out. And so it's very significant. It makes it even more exciting when you know that the winner's walking away with $800,000, $1 million, depending on what incentives they're eligible for. And being able to see that, it's life-changing money. And for you guys to get to be a part of it at the level where, okay, we have these amounts that are changing people's lives that are a smaller dollar amount, and seeing the impact that it's making on those people's lives. And then for us on the other end to be, giving a horse trainer that came from nothing that, maybe this pays off their ranch. Maybe now they don't have a ranch payment anymore. Maybe this sets them up. Maybe now their kid can go to college. Mm-hmm. And it's just life-changing money, whether they're winning or they're just in the finals. And so for us to be able to give that year after year and really impact the next generation in a positive way is something that, for me, has been one of the biggest rewards.
Yeah. And I think that's good to know, to explain that to people where they get it, because I've heard it. I understand what it is, but I just didn't want it to get mixed up with the different industry.
Oh, absolutely. So there's so many different versions of the Triple Crown out there, but yes, ours is held throughout the year in Fort Worth, and it all starts with our futurity. And something about the futurity that I think a lot of people don't realize is that these horses have never been shown before. So they cannot be shown on a cow before they come into the Will Rogers.
Say again?
Yeah, the horses cannot be shown
Really?
at the futurity if they have already been shown on a cow.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and so that's part of the reason that there is so much buzz around the futurity, because you really don't know. So like for the reining futurity, for example, you see those horses kind of progress throughout the year, and you kind of have an idea who may make the finals, who may not, based off of the other shows they've shown at. So our cutters have pre-works, which is as close as you can get to a show scenario without actually showing, but it's still not bright lights, cheering crowds, judges, you know, the adrenaline that the riders and the horses feel. And so that's what makes it even more fun and interesting to see, you know, who advances throughout the rounds, because it really is anyone's game. There's no way to know how those horses are going to react in the show pen because they've never been shown before.
I don't know why I didn't know that, but that's pretty cool. Because that, to me, that's just going to make everything even more hopped up for me. When knowing that this is the first time, you know, and I don't know why I never crawled. Somebody told me that I just didn't remember, but that's pretty cool. I mean, for that to go on that platform, and now it makes a lot more sense why the futurity is such a big buzz. Mm-hmm. It's a big thing. And especially knowing to get towards the end, you know, and all the hype of all that, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna wrap this up, but I want to ask you one question before we get done here. So, all-time favorite horse?
Can't answer. I played the fifth. There's too many good ones.
There is, and it's a tough question for a lot of people, you know, and I just, it's just hard to find that particular one. But you know, there's most foundation blow stuff I like, but it's.
Yeah. I will say for me, the horse that has impacted me personally, like in terms of a stud, Metallic Cat, being on Yellowstone. That was when my friends finally decided that I was a legitimate business person. Is when they saw the Metallic Cat horse and realized that on Yellowstone, and realized that all of the things I had been sharing about that horse as a sponsor of our event were tied together. And they were like, oh, you guys are real. This horse thing that you keep talking about is real. So I won't say that he's my favorite, although would definitely be up there with all of my favorites. But he is the one that has made the most impact on my friends that are not from the Western industry.
Right. You're proven fact.
Yes.
Well, Carley, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us, and I'm sure we'll catch up with each other in the near future. Futurity's coming. What?
Yes, just a few weeks away. Yeah, we're excited about it, and thank you so much for having me and for everything that you do for the NCHA and the industry.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Each and every Tuesday, catch a new episode of Grit Branded as we dive into stories from all walks of life in the hopes of you discovering what your grit is.